For centuries, whispers have floated through the shadows of libraries, monasteries, and dusty archives. Stories of a manuscript so profound, so dangerous in its implications, that entire empires may have sought to bury it forever. It is said to contain knowledge that could rewrite the history of humanity itself. A codex so ancient that even its origins have been obscured by time. Scholars call it by different names. Historians dismiss it as legend, and yet fragments of its existence echo faintly in scattered texts, in the margins of forbidden manuscripts, and in the hushed conversations of those who guard secrets too powerful to be known. This is the story of a lost codex that could reveal humanity's origins. Imagine, for a moment, the world as we have always been taught to understand it. From the earliest classroom lessons to the grand narratives of mainstream history, humanity's story seems linear, predictable, and well-documented. Ancient civilizations rise, great empires fall, and the progress of knowledge follows a steady, logical path. But what if this view is incomplete? What if a single text, hidden, suppressed, or lost to time, held truths that could shatter the foundations of everything we think we know? A manuscript that predates known history, containing secrets so profound that they challenge the very narrative of human existence. The Codex, in this sense, is not merely a book. It is a mirror reflecting what may have been deliberately erased from our collective memory. Throughout history, humanity has always sought to understand its beginnings. Philosophers, theologians, and explorers have all yearned to answer the same question. Where did we come from? Mainstream accounts point to evolution, migration, and civilization's slow ascent. But tucked away in obscure records, there are references, cryptic, almost accidental, that suggest another possibility. Some ancient texts hint at knowledge that was once widespread, yet deliberately hidden. Certain symbols carved into stone, bizarrely precise structures scattered across continents, and inexplicable gaps in historical records point to an underlying truth that mainstream history either overlooks or actively conceals. And the Lost Codex is at the heart of this puzzle. The Codex itself, as we are told, was not just a collection of stories or teachings. Its pages were said to be dense with diagrams, coded languages, and insights into realms of knowledge that modern science can barely begin to comprehend. Some say it contained advanced cosmology, tracing the origins of the human race back to times before recorded history. Others claim it documented forgotten technologies, the knowledge of civilizations whose footprints have been erased from the earth. And woven throughout, many believe, are instructions for understanding not just the material world, but the very essence of consciousness itself. This is why so many powerful entities across eras and empires have been rumored to protect, possess, or suppress it. Yet despite the Codex's legendary status, no complete copy has ever been found. References appear, disappear, and reappear in scattered fragments. One scholar finds a line in a monastery's marginal notes. Another comes across a fleeting mention in a merchant's log from the medieval period. Entire libraries that may have housed it are reduced to ash. Political powers, religious institutions, and secret societies, all implicated in tales of its suppression, have left only hints that something extraordinary once existed. The Codex, it seems, has survived only in whispers, in cryptic mentions, and tantalizing clues. And therein lies the fascination. The idea of a hidden truth, obscured deliberately, ignites a kind of curiosity that is impossible to ignore. The Lost Codex is not just a relic, it is a challenge. It is a question that refuses to be silenced. What if we have been deceived about our own origins? What if, tucked away somewhere in the labyrinth of history, there exists a record that could redefine who we are and why we are here? Some believe that finding it, or even glimpsing its contents, could bring enlightenment. Others warn that some knowledge is too dangerous to be revealed, that humanity may not yet be ready for the truths it contains. As we begin this journey, it is important to recognize that we are walking a line between legend and history, fact and conjecture. Each clue, each reference, and each surviving fragment will serve as a stepping stone toward understanding the Codex's true significance. The story we are about to uncover is not just about a book. It is about humanity's quest for knowledge, the forces that have shaped our understanding of the past, and the tantalizing possibility that a single lost manuscript may hold the answers to questions we have asked for millennia. Prepare to enter a world where the boundaries between myth and reality blur. A world where secret societies, forbidden knowledge, and ancient mysteries collide. This is the journey into the Lost Codex, a text that could, if ever found, illuminate the true origins of humanity. Long before the invention of writing, long before empires rose and fell, humanity sought to understand its own existence. Across continents, cultures, and epochs, we find the same haunting questions echoed in myths, legends, and oral traditions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? Who or what shaped the world before us? These questions gave birth to myths, stories that attempt to capture truths too vast to be fully expressed. And while each culture's mythos appears unique at first glance, a closer look reveals an uncanny similarity, shared themes, mirrored archetypes, and recurring symbols that span continents and centuries. In Mesopotamia, we find the Epic of Gilgamesh, a tale that explores immortality, divine intervention, and the relationship between humanity and the cosmos. In ancient Egypt, creation myths describe gods shaping the world from chaos, bringing order and life in ways that resonate across millennia. Far to the east, Hindu cosmology tells of cycles of creation and destruction, repeating endlessly across time. Even in the myths of the Americas, Africa, and Oceania, stories of primordial beginnings, cosmic knowledge, and secret teachings emerge with striking consistency. It is as if humanity once had access to a shared memory, a deep, primordial understanding that was later fractured, scattered, and preserved only in fragments. Some scholars dismiss these parallels as coincidence, the result of universal human imagination attempting to explain natural phenomena. Yet the similarities are too precise, too detailed, to be mere accident. The imagery of serpents guarding sacred knowledge, of beings descending from the heavens to teach early humans, and of a catastrophic event reshaping the world appears repeatedly. Could these myths be encoding fragments of lost history? Could they point toward a source of knowledge so profound that it became legend, the very codex we seek? Legends of a book containing all truths about creation are not exclusive to a single culture. In the East, there are references to secret texts guarded by sages, sometimes called the Vimana manuscripts or hidden scrolls of the ancients, said to contain knowledge of the cosmos, the cycles of life, and the hidden forces shaping reality. In the West, the idea of forbidden books, such as grimoires or illuminated manuscripts lost to the church or hidden by secret orders, suggests that knowledge dangerous enough to challenge authority has always existed. Could all these references point to one source, a codex that traveled the world, shaping myths while remaining hidden for public view? Evidence of a shared origin is subtle but compelling. Symbols carved into stone monuments, the precise alignment of ancient temples, and mysterious artifacts found in locations thousands of miles apart all hint at a forgotten understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and human potential. Many of these artifacts carry symbols similar to those later attributed to the Codex, geometric patterns, celestial maps, and enigmatic inscriptions. Could it be that myths were the vessel through which this knowledge survived, encoded in stories that would endure even if the book itself disappeared? Consider the story of the serpent, appearing in the mythologies of Sumer, Egypt, India, and Mesoamerica. Often a symbol of wisdom, forbidden knowledge, or a guardian of secrets, the serpent may point to a universal understanding of hidden truth. Likewise, flood myths, whether the biblical deluge, Gilgamesh's great flood, or Mesoamerican flood stories, suggest a cataclysmic event remembered across cultures, perhaps preserved in the Codex. The consistency of these motifs raises a tantalizing question. What if myths were never just stories, but encoded memories of something real, something the Codex held in precise, painstaking detail? We also see evidence of deliberate preservation. Ancient priests, shamans, and scribes often took extraordinary measures to protect their knowledge. Knowledge was encoded in sacred rites, oral traditions, and symbolic art. Every story told, every ritual performed, carried layers of meaning, both practical and esoteric, designed to withstand the erosion of time. The Codex, if it existed, would have been the ultimate repository of such wisdom, a single, comprehensive source meant to preserve what could not be easily spoken aloud. And yet, myths are double-edged. While they preserve fragments of knowledge, they also obscure and mystify it. Each retelling adds interpretation. Each translation introduces errors or embellishments. What remains in legend is only a shadow of what may have existed. But it is precisely this shadow that allows us to trace the Codex's potential influence. Across the myths of the world, the same cryptic patterns emerge, as if a single source, now lost, once connected all civilizations in a shared understanding of humanity's origins. It is here, in the intersection of myth and history, that the hunt for the Codex begins in earnest. To follow its trail is to move beyond surface-level storytelling, to dig into the symbolic language that ancient cultures left behind. Each myth becomes a map, each story a clue pointing toward a truth deliberately hidden yet universally remembered. The Codex, if it ever existed, may have been the original source from which these myths flowed, a book so powerful that it could encode the very essence of humanity, the universe, and the forces that shape them both. By understanding myths, not just as stories, but as encoded memory, we begin to glimpse the staggering possibility that humanity's past is far richer and more mysterious than conventional history allows. And in this realization lies the first true step toward discovering the lost Codex, a recognition that somewhere hidden in time, there exists a key to understanding not just where we came from, but who we really are.
The trail of the lost Codex begins not in grand libraries or palace archives, but in the quiet, overlooked corners of history, margins of manuscripts, fragmented scrolls, and fleeting mentions that almost disappear beneath the weight of time. For centuries, historians have debated whether these references were literal or metaphorical, but a careful examination suggests that the Codex was known to many, whispered about in scholarly circles, yet deliberately obscured from public knowledge. It appears sporadically, like a ghostly footprint across centuries, tantalizingly close yet always just beyond reach. One of the earliest known references comes from the libraries of ancient Alexandria, where scholars catalog texts from across the known world. In surviving fragments of the library's catalog, there are mentions of a Book of Origins, a text said to contain knowledge older than recorded history itself. Unfortunately, most of the catalog was lost when the Great Library burned, leaving only tantalizing traces of its holdings. Scholars have speculated that the Codex, or at least its earliest version, may have been among the works destroyed, and that fragments or copies could have survived in secret collections far from the public eye. In parallel, medieval Europe offers another layer of hints. Monastic records occasionally reference a Codex Antiqua, a manuscript described as containing the wisdom of ancient civilizations, predating even biblical texts. Some abbots wrote of it in letters, noting its cryptic language and the care required to understand it. These references were often accompanied by warnings, cautioning that its contents were dangerous to those unprepared for the knowledge it held. The fact that the Codex appears in both Eastern and Western historical records, often under different names, suggests that it was known across cultures, traveling silently through trade routes, hidden libraries, and clandestine scholarly circles. The Islamic Golden Age also offers significant clues. Scholars in Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba compiled and translated texts from Greece, India, and Persia, creating an unparalleled repository of knowledge. Among these works, there are fleeting mentions of a manuscript containing The Secrets of the First Humans and The Knowledge Before the Flood. Some scholars suggest these references could point to the Codex itself, preserved under different names and adapted to the linguistic and cultural context of the time. These fragments imply that the Codex's influence was global, hinting at an extraordinary network of preservation that spanned continents and centuries. Even the famed Venetian merchant and historian, Marco Polo, made cryptic remarks that some believe referenced the Codex during his travels through the East. His journals speak of a book older than memory that contained knowledge from civilizations no longer present, guarded by secretive monks and scholars who feared the consequences of its revelation. While the exact nature of the book is unclear, the repeated pattern of hidden manuscripts, secret guardians, and ancient wisdom aligns with the Codex's legend. It becomes apparent that the Codex was never a simple book. It was a concept, a repository of truths so potent that it required secrecy and careful stewardship. Interestingly, the Codex also surfaces in accounts of alchemists and mystics in medieval Europe. Alchemical texts frequently allude to a source of ultimate wisdom, a foundational manuscript from which all understanding of matter, life, and the cosmos could be derived. Scholars like Roger Bacon hinted at knowledge that was deliberately obscured, warning that certain truths could destabilize societal or religious structures if revealed prematurely. Similarly, manuscripts in secretive orders, such as the Knights Templar, reference texts brought back from distant lands during crusades, texts that describe human origins, celestial cycles, and the foundations of civilization. Though these mentions are vague, they reinforce a recurring pattern. The Codex was recognized as dangerous, powerful, and worth guarding at all costs. The Codex's elusiveness is compounded by the use of coded language. References to it often employ metaphor, symbolism, or obscure terminology to disguise its existence from those deemed unworthy or unprepared. Terms like the hidden manuscript, the eternal book, or the first scroll may all refer to the same source. These deliberate obfuscations complicate the task of historians and seekers alike, creating a labyrinthine trail that requires not only scholarship but intuition to navigate. Each fragmentary reference is like a faint pulse across centuries, hinting at a continuity of knowledge that mainstream history has largely ignored. Even the disappearance of the Codex itself tells a story. Unlike other lost works, which vanish due to war, decay, or accident, the Codex seems to have been targeted for suppression. Fires, confiscations, and disappearances of entire libraries often coincide with references to it, suggesting a deliberate effort to erase it from history. Whether driven by religious authorities, political powers, or secretive societies, the Codex was deemed too potent, too transformative, or perhaps too dangerous to remain accessible. Its elusiveness is not simply a quirk of fate, it is a central part of its story, a testament to its significance and the fear it inspired. What emerges from these early references is a pattern of continuity and concealment. Across civilizations, languages, and epochs, fragments of acknowledgement appear, each carrying the same core message. Knowledge exists that predates history, knowledge that has been carefully guarded, and knowledge that, if revealed, could change humanity's understanding of itself. The Codex becomes more than a text. It becomes a symbol of lost memory, of the tension between revelation and suppression, and of the unending human desire to uncover what has been hidden. As we trace these first references, the Codex transforms from legend into something tangible, something that leaves footprints across time. Each mention, each fragment, is a thread connecting civilizations separated by thousands of miles and millennia. The challenge lies not just in locating the physical manuscript, but in deciphering its echoes within history itself. By following these traces, we begin to piece together a story of preservation, suppression, and relentless curiosity, a story that sets the stage for the Codex's next phase of discovery as it moves from whispers in the margins to the hands of those bold enough to pursue it. The first references, fragmented as they are, offer both hope and warning. They hint at the Codex's extraordinary nature, yet underscore the difficulty of uncovering it. What we know gleaned from these scattered mentions is that the Codex exists at the intersection of myth, history, and secrecy. It is a testament to humanity's enduring quest to understand its origins and a reminder that some knowledge, no matter how ancient or profound, requires careful guardianship. And it is in this delicate balance between concealment and revelation that the Codex continues to captivate the imagination of seekers, historians, and dreamers alike.
Throughout history, knowledge has rarely been neutral. Every revelation carries power, and every powerful revelation attracts attention, sometimes with deadly consequences. The Lost Codex, said to contain truths that could redefine humanity's understanding of itself, did not merely exist in isolation. It was protected, guarded, and at times hunted by a succession of mysterious figures and secretive organizations whose names are whispered only in the margins of history. These guardians understood what the average scholar or ruler could not. Knowledge of this magnitude, in the wrong hands, could reshape civilizations or dismantle the very structures upon which societies depended. The earliest of these guardians were likely the scribes and priests of ancient civilizations. In Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, knowledge was considered sacred, entrusted only to those initiated in the mysteries of life, death, and the cosmos. These scribes maintained the records of creation myths, celestial cycles, and ancient technologies with precision, passing their understanding down through select apprentices. They recognized that some knowledge was not meant for the uninitiated. Its power could destabilize belief systems or provoke chaos. The Codex, if it existed at that time, would have required such careful custodianship, a living chain of guardians committed to preserving its secrets across generations. As centuries passed and empires rose, the guardianship of forbidden knowledge evolved. In medieval Europe, monasteries became repositories not just of religious texts, but of the wisdom of vanished civilizations. Monks meticulously copied manuscripts, safeguarding them from destruction in times of war or conquest. Among these texts were cryptic references to the Codex, carefully encoded in marginalia and hidden annotations. Some monks reportedly formed secret orders within the monastery itself, sworn to protect these manuscripts from inquisitive outsiders. Their lives were devoted to a singular purpose: to ensure that the Codex, in whatever form survived, would endure. The role of guardianship took on a new dimension with the emergence of secret societies. Orders such as the Knights Templar, the Rosicrucians, and later, esoteric circles across Europe were rumored to possess fragments or knowledge of the Codex. Their motives were complex. Some sought enlightenment, some sought power, and others sought to protect humanity from truths it was not yet ready to confront. The Templars, in particular, have been linked to mysterious texts and artifacts retrieved during the Crusades, including manuscripts said to predate known history. They developed codes, ciphers, and secret libraries, ensuring that only those deemed worthy could access the knowledge. Their very survival depended on secrecy, and the Codex became both their treasure and their burden. Guardianship was not solely a Western phenomenon. Across Asia, scholars, monks, and royal advisors acted as custodians of ancient knowledge. In Tibet, secret monasteries preserved manuscripts detailing cosmology, meditation, and the nature of consciousness, texts inaccessible to outsiders. In China, imperial libraries housed scrolls that recorded technology, medicine, and philosophy far beyond the comprehension of common scholars. These traditions of secrecy, protection, and selective transmission suggest a global pattern. The Codex, wherever it appeared, demanded vigilant guardianship. Knowledge of this magnitude was never intended for mass consumption. It required stewardship by those capable of understanding and preserving it. What made these guardians so essential was the Codex's reputation. Unlike ordinary manuscripts, it was said to contain information so transformative that its exposure could unsettle rulers, religious authorities, and entire populations. Stories persist of scholars disappearing mysteriously after claiming to have glimpsed its contents, of texts vanishing shortly after being cataloged, and of cryptic warnings etched into the margins of surviving manuscripts. These events underscore the dual role of the guardians, protectors not only of the text itself, but also of the fragile social and spiritual order surrounding it. To possess the Codex without wisdom or restraint was to invite catastrophe. The Codex also required more than physical protection. It demanded interpretive guardianship. Its contents were deliberately complex, encoded in ciphers, symbolic language, and allegory. The guardian's role was not merely to hide the manuscript, but to ensure that it could be understood and misused only by those with the requisite knowledge. This created a hierarchy of secrecy, a chain of initiation passing knowledge gradually, ensuring that the Codex's wisdom could survive through time, even if its physical form was destroyed. Marginal notes, cryptic illustrations, and coded passages functioned as keys, accessible only to those who had been trained to recognize and interpret them. Over centuries, this guardianship became increasingly perilous. Political upheavals, religious purges, and inquisitions threatened both the custodians and the Codex itself. Entire orders were disbanded, monasteries destroyed, and texts burned. Yet fragments survived, carefully hidden in caves, private libraries, and remote monasteries. Each survival required ingenuity, courage, and unwavering commitment. Some guardians even disguised the Codex within innocuous texts, blending the extraordinary with the ordinary, ensuring that its significance would remain invisible to all but the initiated. In the modern era, the Codex's guardianship did not end. It merely evolved. Wealthy collectors, clandestine societies, and even intelligence agencies are rumored to have acquired fragments, continuing the ancient tradition of secrecy. The Codex, or its remnants, has become a symbol of knowledge too powerful to be left unguarded, a reminder that the preservation of history often comes at the cost of concealment. Each new generation of guardians inherits the same delicate responsibility: to balance the pursuit of understanding with the dangers of revelation. By tracing the lineage of the Codex's guardians, a pattern emerges that spans the globe and centuries. This is a story not just of a lost manuscript, but of the people who dedicated their lives to its preservation. Their vigilance ensured that fragments of forbidden knowledge survived through time, waiting for seekers bold enough to follow the trail. The guardians of the Codex represent the intersection of devotion, secrecy, and responsibility, a testament to the extraordinary lengths humanity has gone to protect what it cannot yet fully comprehend. As we follow this trail, the role of the guardians becomes clear. Without them, the Codex would have vanished entirely, leaving only echoes and whispers. Their lives, sacrifices, and ingenuity form the backbone of the Codex's history, connecting us to a chain of knowledge stretching back to the dawn of civilization. It is within this lineage of protectors that the Codex's story truly begins to unfold, setting the stage for the next phase of discovery. The cryptic languages and symbols that hide its secrets, waiting for those capable of deciphering them.
The lost Codex, it is said, was never meant to be easily read. Its power lay not only in the knowledge it contained, but in the way that knowledge was encoded. From the earliest fragments to whispered accounts across civilizations, one thing is clear: the Codex spoke a language designed to be impenetrable to the uninitiated. Its symbols, diagrams, and cryptic phrases functioned both as keys and barriers, ensuring that only those with the proper understanding could access its transformative wisdom. Ciphers have always fascinated humanity. In the context of the Codex, they were not merely tools of secrecy, but integral to the transmission of knowledge itself. Unlike simple encryption, the Codex's language is believed to have combined mathematics, astronomy, and symbolic representation into a cohesive system. A diagram could simultaneously represent a star map, a philosophical principle, and an alchemical instruction. A single glyph might carry multiple layers of meaning, only decipherable by understanding its place within a vast, interconnected web of knowledge. To read the Codex without comprehension was to risk misunderstanding, or worse, misuse, its truths. Comparisons to other mysterious manuscripts help illustrate its complexity. The Voynich manuscript, for example, has baffled linguists, cryptographers, and historians for centuries. Its strange symbols, botanical illustrations, and inexplicable diagrams evoke a language that is both alien and familiar. Similarly, The Codex is thought to employ a system of communication that transcends conventional language. Every page, every line, may have been deliberately constructed to preserve knowledge while concealing it from casual observers. Unlike ordinary writing, the Codex demanded patience, intuition, and initiation, blending intellectual rigor with spiritual insight. Many ancient cultures had traditions of encoding wisdom. In Egypt, sacred texts were often written in hieroglyphs that conveyed multiple meanings simultaneously. In India, Vedic chants embedded mathematical and cosmological knowledge within poetic verse, a method that ensured preservation across generations while remaining obscured to outsiders. In the West, alchemical manuscripts employed intricate symbolism, requiring initiates to decode their layered meanings. The Codex appears to be the culmination of these traditions, a manuscript whose very structure was designed to maintain secrecy while safeguarding knowledge for those capable of interpreting it. The use of visual symbolism in the Codex may have been particularly sophisticated. Geometric patterns, star charts, and diagrams are said to populate its pages, each carrying encoded information about cosmology, human origins, or even consciousness itself. A circle might represent a celestial cycle, a philosophical principle, and a process for spiritual transformation simultaneously. Lines, angles, and proportions could encode numeric systems or temporal cycles. Understanding these symbols required not only intellectual ability but also a deep awareness of the natural and metaphysical worlds. The Codex, therefore, was more than text. It was a multidimensional map of knowledge. Language, however, is only one layer of the Codex's protective design. Its materials, arrangement, and even physical structure may have contributed to its secrecy. Some scholars speculate that the manuscript employed color coding, invisible inks, or even chemical treatments that revealed information only under certain conditions. The choice of parchment, ink, and binding could have contained additional clues or restrictions, making the Codex a living puzzle rather than a simple repository of information. Every aspect of its creation, from the form to the content, was likely deliberate, intended to guide initiates while deterring the unprepared. The Codex's language also reflects a philosophical principle. Knowledge, in its purest form, is transformative, and transformation requires effort. By encoding its wisdom in complex symbols and ciphers, the Codex ensured that only those willing to dedicate themselves fully to understanding could access its insights. This is a recurring theme among secret societies and esoteric traditions. Knowledge is power, but untempered power is dangerous. The Codex, through its cryptic design, enforced discipline, patience, and discernment, ensuring that revelation came gradually and responsibly. Deciphering the Codex requires more than modern analytical tools. It demands intuition, pattern recognition, and an ability to perceive connections across disparate domains. Linguists, mathematicians, and historians may provide frameworks for analysis, but fully unlocking its secrets likely requires a holistic understanding, melding science, philosophy, art, and spirituality. Each symbol, each arrangement, functions as part of an elaborate network of meaning, a design that challenges the linear thinking typically employed in conventional scholarship. Even today, fragments attributed to the Codex reveal hints of its intricate system. Scholars who have examined these pieces speak of patterns that defy ordinary explanation, sequences that mirror celestial alignments, diagrams reminiscent of sacred geometry, and annotations that seem to encode moral, philosophical, and scientific knowledge simultaneously. These surviving fragments tantalize researchers with glimpses of a profound intelligence, suggesting that the Codex was not merely a book, but a vessel of holistic understanding, deliberately crafted to preserve the deepest truths across time. The language of secrets, then, is central to the Codex's mystery. It illustrates why the manuscript was both invaluable and dangerous. Its complexity guaranteed that only a few could interpret it accurately, yet it also ensured its survival. The Codex's very design reflects a profound understanding of knowledge preservation. The deeper the mystery, the more likely it is to endure. And as we explore further, This language of symbols, ciphers, and encoded wisdom will serve as our guide, revealing not only the knowledge of the Codex but also the ingenuity and foresight of those who created it. By studying these symbols and understanding their purpose, we begin to approach the Codex not as a static artifact, but as a dynamic system of communication, a bridge between civilizations, eras, and minds. The language of secrets is the key to unlocking the lost Codex, and through it, we glimpse the possibility of knowledge so profound that it could illuminate the origins of humanity, the cosmos, and consciousness itself. The Codex challenges us, daring us to see beyond the obvious, to decode the hidden, and to recognize that understanding may demand both intellect and intuition. As the trail of the lost Codex unfolds, one striking pattern emerges. Its influence, or at least traces of its existence, seems to span the globe. From the monumental structures of the ancient Near East to the enigmatic ruins of the Americas, fragments of knowledge hint at a wisdom that predates recorded history. These clues are subtle, often hidden in plain sight, encoded in stone, symbol, and alignment, yet when examined collectively, they suggest a thread connecting civilizations separated by continents and millennia. The Codex, it appears, was not confined to one region or culture. Its reach may have been universal. In the deserts of Egypt, for instance, the precision of the pyramids continues to astound modern engineers. The alignment of the Great Pyramid of Giza with the cardinal points, its correlation with specific stars, and the geometry underlying its construction hint at knowledge far beyond the practical needs of a tomb. Some researchers suggest that these architectural feats were informed by a deeper understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and perhaps even metaphysical principles, knowledge that could have been preserved in the Codex. Symbols etched into temple walls, including celestial diagrams and hieroglyphs of serpents, birds, and abstract patterns, may be echoes of a language also found in the Codex, a coded transmission of wisdom across time. Travel eastward to the Indus Valley, and the same pattern appears. Ancient cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa display a remarkable understanding of urban planning, drainage systems, and standardized measurements. Archaeologists have long marveled at the uniformity and sophistication of these settlements, noting that the civilization's knowledge seems far advanced for its era. Among the artifacts unearthed are seals and inscriptions featuring symbols that bear an uncanny resemblance to those described in accounts of the Codex, geometric motifs, animal figures, and enigmatic signs whose meaning remains uncertain. Could these civilizations have been custodians of fragments of the Codex, preserving its knowledge in tangible, practical forms? Across the Mediterranean, the megalithic sites of Europe offer additional clues. Stone circles, such as Stonehenge in England and Karnak in France, are aligned with astronomical events like solstices and lunar cycles. Scholars have long debated their purpose, oscillating between ritualistic explanations and advanced observational astronomy. Some suggest that these sites were constructed according to principles encoded in the Codex, knowledge that intertwines spiritual, scientific, and cosmological understanding. The alignment of stones, the patterns of construction, and the incorporation of specific measurements indicate a sophisticated comprehension of cycles, geometry, and cosmic order, a kind of knowledge that could have originated from the same source that inspired myths and manuscripts worldwide. Even the Americas present fascinating parallels. In Mesoamerica, the civilizations of the Maya and Aztecs built pyramids, observatories, and ceremonial centers that reflect both astronomical precision and ritual significance. The Mayan calendar, with its complex cycles of time and cosmic calculations, suggests a level of mathematical and astronomical knowledge that continues to perplex modern scholars. Some researchers propose that these systems may encode fragments of the Codex's wisdom, translated into local cultural frameworks. Glyphs, codices, and carvings depict serpents, celestial bodies, and abstract symbols reminiscent of those found in European and Asian traditions, hinting at a shared symbolic heritage. Beyond structures and inscriptions, natural landscapes themselves may serve as clues. Ancient sacred sites often occupy locations with unique geomagnetic properties or astronomical visibility, suggesting that early civilizations were attuned to the Earth's energies and cycles. Alignments between distant sites, such as lines connecting pyramids, temples, and observatories, have been noted by some researchers, implying a network of knowledge encoded across continents. While skeptics dismiss these as coincidence, the consistency of patterns across time and geography cannot be ignored. Could the Codex have provided the blueprint for these alignments, transmitting universal principles through symbols, stories, and architectural design? Even the smallest artifacts contribute to this puzzle. Ceramics, amulets, and figurines often bear symbols that resemble coded scripts described in historical accounts of the Codex. In some cases, these symbols appear on objects separated by thousands of miles, suggesting either direct transmission or a shared origin of knowledge. The recurrence of motifs, spirals, serpents, geometric patterns, and celestial symbols points to a conceptual continuity, hinting at a global understanding preserved in fragments across cultures. Such continuity challenges conventional historical timelines and invites speculation about a pre-existing source of knowledge, one that the Codex may have encapsulated in full. The Codex's global traces also suggest that it was not merely theoretical or philosophical, but practical in application. Ancient societies appear to have used this knowledge to shape their environments, align their cities, and guide their spiritual and scientific practices. Whether in agriculture, architecture, astronomy, or ritual, the Codex may have served as a comprehensive manual, a repository of techniques, principles, and symbolic understanding, translated into each culture's context. Its encoded wisdom would have allowed civilizations to achieve remarkable feats while preserving secrecy, ensuring that the knowledge endured across time even if its origins were forgotten. The scattered clues, however, come with their own mysteries and challenges. Some sites and artifacts are deliberately misleading, altered, or destroyed by forces seeking to suppress knowledge. Others have been misinterpreted or dismissed by mainstream scholarship as anomalies or coincidence. The Codex, if it existed, seems to have anticipated this, embedding information in layers so complex that only careful observation and a willingness to connect disparate clues can reveal its influence. The global pattern, when carefully traced, forms a map not of places alone, but of ideas, principles, and secrets that transcend geography. Taken together, these ancient clues suggest a remarkable conclusion. The Codex, whether fully intact or surviving in fragments, influenced civilizations across the world. Its knowledge was encoded in architecture, symbols, celestial observations, and practical applications, creating a hidden network of wisdom that has persisted despite time, catastrophe, and suppression. By following these clues, we begin to see the Codex not merely as a lost manuscript, but as a force that shaped human history subtly, invisibly, yet profoundly. And so, the search for the Codex continues, not just in libraries or archives, but in the very fabric of the ancient world. Each stone, symbol, and city plan becomes a fragment of the story, a piece of the puzzle revealing the scope and sophistication of this lost knowledge. The Codex may remain elusive, yet its imprint is everywhere, awaiting those bold enough to recognize its traces and brave enough to follow its trail.
As the trail of the lost Codex unfolds, one striking pattern emerges. Its influence, or at least traces of its existence, seems to span the globe. From the monumental structures of the ancient Near East to the enigmatic ruins of the Americas, fragments of knowledge hint at a wisdom that predates recorded history. These clues are subtle, often hidden in plain sight, encoded in stone, symbol, and alignment. Yet when examined collectively, they suggest a thread connecting civilizations separated by continents and millennia. The Codex, it appears, was not confined to one region or culture. Its reach may have been universal. In the deserts of Egypt, for instance, the precision of the pyramids continues to astound modern engineers. The alignment of the Great Pyramid of Giza with the cardinal points, its correlation with specific stars, and the geometry underlying its construction hint at knowledge far beyond the practical needs of a tomb. Some researchers suggest that these architectural feats were informed by a deeper understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and perhaps even metaphysical principles, knowledge that could have been preserved in the Codex. Symbols etched into temple walls, including celestial diagrams and hieroglyphs of serpents, birds, and abstract patterns, may be echoes of a language also found in the Codex, a coded transmission of wisdom across time. Travel eastward to the Indus Valley, and the same pattern appears. Ancient cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa display a remarkable understanding of urban planning, drainage systems, and standardized measurements. Archaeologists have long marveled at the uniformity and sophistication of these settlements, noting that the civilization's knowledge seems far advanced for its era. Among the artifacts unearthed are seals and inscriptions featuring symbols that bear an uncanny resemblance to those described in accounts of the Codex. Geometric motifs, animal figures, and enigmatic signs whose meaning remains uncertain. Could these civilizations have been custodians of fragments of the Codex, preserving its knowledge in tangible, practical forms? Across the Mediterranean, the megalithic sites of Europe offer additional clues. Stone circles, such as Stonehenge in England and Karnak in France, are aligned with astronomical events like solstices and lunar cycles. Scholars have long debated their purpose, oscillating between ritualistic explanations and advanced observational astronomy. Some suggest that these sites were constructed according to principles encoded in the Codex, knowledge that intertwined spiritual, scientific, and cosmological understanding. The alignment of stones, the patterns of construction, and the incorporation of specific measurements indicate a sophisticated comprehension of cycles, geometry, and cosmic order, a kind of knowledge that could have originated from the same source that inspired myths and manuscripts worldwide. Even the Americas present fascinating parallels. In Mesoamerica, the civilizations of the Maya and Aztecs built pyramids, observatories, and ceremonial centers that reflect both astronomical precision and ritual significance. The Mayan calendar, with its complex cycles of time and cosmic calculations, suggests a level of mathematical and astronomical knowledge that continues to perplex modern scholars. Some researchers propose that these systems may encode fragments of the Codex's wisdom, translated into local cultural frameworks. Glyphs, codices, and carvings depict serpents, celestial bodies, and abstract symbols reminiscent of those found in European and Asian traditions, hinting at a shared symbolic heritage. Beyond structures and inscriptions, natural landscapes themselves may serve as clues. Ancient sacred sites often occupy locations with unique geomagnetic properties or astronomical visibility, suggesting that early civilizations were attuned to the Earth's energies and cycles. Alignments between distant sites, such as lines connecting pyramids, temples, and observatories, have been noted by some researchers, implying a network of knowledge encoded across continents. While skeptics dismiss these as coincidence, the consistency of patterns across time and geography cannot be ignored. Could the Codex have provided the blueprint for these alignments, transmitting universal principles through symbols, stories, and architectural design? Even the smallest artifacts contribute to this puzzle. Ceramics, amulets, and figurines often bear symbols that resemble coded scripts described in historical accounts of the Codex. In some cases, these symbols appear on objects separated by thousands of miles, suggesting either direct transmission or a shared origin of knowledge. The recurrence of motifs, spirals, serpents, geometric patterns, and celestial symbols points to a conceptual continuity, hinting at a global understanding preserved in fragments across cultures. Such continuity challenges conventional historical timelines and invites speculation about a pre-existing source of knowledge, one that the Codex may have encapsulated in full. The Codex's global traces also suggest that it was not merely theoretical or philosophical, but practical in application. Ancient societies appear to have used this knowledge to shape their environments, align their cities, and guide their spiritual and scientific practices. Whether in agriculture, architecture, astronomy, or ritual, the Codex may have served as a comprehensive manual, a repository of techniques, principles, and symbolic understanding, translated into each culture's context. Its encoded wisdom would have allowed civilizations to achieve remarkable feats while preserving secrecy, ensuring that the knowledge endured across time, even if its origins were forgotten. The scattered clues, however, come with their own mysteries and challenges. Some sites and artifacts are deliberately misleading, altered, or destroyed by forces seeking to suppress knowledge. Others have been misinterpreted or dismissed by mainstream scholarship as anomalies or coincidence. The Codex, if it existed, seems to have anticipated this, embedding information in layers so complex that only careful observation and a willingness to connect disparate clues can reveal its influence. The global pattern, when carefully traced, forms a map not of places alone, but of ideas, principles, and secrets that transcend geography. Taken together, these ancient clues suggest a remarkable conclusion. The Codex, whether fully intact or surviving in fragments, influenced civilizations across the world. Its knowledge was encoded in architecture, symbols, celestial observations, and practical applications, creating a hidden network of wisdom that has persisted despite time, catastrophe, and suppression. By following these clues, we begin to see the Codex not merely as a lost manuscript, but as a force that shaped human history subtly, invisibly, yet profoundly. And so, the search for the Codex continues, not just in libraries or archives, but in the very fabric of the ancient world. Each stone, symbol, and city plan becomes a fragment of the story, a piece of the puzzle revealing the scope and sophistication of this lost knowledge. The Codex may remain elusive, yet its imprint is everywhere, awaiting those bold enough to recognize its traces and brave enough to follow its trail. The pursuit of the lost Codex has never been a quiet endeavor. From a moment its existence was whispered in ancient libraries to the bold explorations of medieval and early modern scholars, the search has been fraught with danger, intrigue, and sometimes death. The Codex was never merely a book to be collected or studied. It was a prize, a key to knowledge so profound that those who sought it were often drawn into a web of secrecy, rivalry, and peril. The first quests to locate it were not motivated by academic curiosity alone, but by a deeper, almost instinctive recognition of the Codex's extraordinary significance. In the 12th and 13th centuries, during the height of the Crusades, rumors of lost manuscripts and ancient wisdom reached Europe from the Middle East. Crusaders returned with tales of forgotten cities, strange texts, and hidden knowledge. Among these was talk of a codex containing truths about the origins of humankind, civilizations older than any known in Europe, and technologies that seemed impossible for the era. Some historians argue that the Knights Templar, with their unusual access to Eastern knowledge, may have encountered fragments of the Codex during their campaigns. They began secret searches, scouring monasteries, hidden vaults, and even underground chambers in pursuit of what would become one of history's most enigmatic treasures. These early quests were perilous. The Codex, if it existed in any form, was heavily guarded or deliberately concealed. Monks and scholars who possessed fragments often imposed strict rules. Only the initiated could access the pages, and those who attempted to decipher it without authorization risked excommunication, or worse. There are accounts of manuscripts disappearing overnight, stolen by unknown hands, and of entire libraries being destroyed to protect the knowledge they contained. These dangers imbued the pursuit of the Codex with a sense of urgency and high stakes, transforming the search into a test of courage, intellect, and endurance. One of the earliest recorded seekers was a scholar named Pierre d'Aubigny, a French cleric whose letters describe a journey into the mountains of Syria in search of a hidden library. According to his correspondence, he believed the Codex, or a copy thereof, had been brought to the region centuries earlier and safeguarded by a secluded order of monks. D'Aubigny wrote of labyrinthine vaults, secret chambers, and coded manuscripts, hinting at a knowledge so vast that even a partial glimpse could overwhelm the unprepared mind. He never returned from the expedition, and his letters ceased abruptly, leaving only tantalizing hints and unfinished maps that would inspire future generations. Parallel quests were underway in other parts of the world. In the Far East, monks and scholars reportedly embarked on pilgrimages to sacred mountains, seeking texts said to predate recorded dynasties. These manuscripts were rumored to contain cosmological charts, detailed genealogies of humanity, and instructions for spiritual and technological advancement. The texts were highly restricted. Only those deemed worthy could even approach the hidden libraries. Travelers described encountering coded inscriptions, cryptic seals, and natural traps meant to protect the knowledge from casual discovery. These efforts demonstrate that the Codex, or its equivalent, was not merely European legend. It was a concept acknowledged across cultures, preserved through vigilance and secrecy. The quests were not limited to religious or scholarly figures. Merchants, adventurers, and explorers also sought the Codex, motivated by the promise of wealth, influence, or enlightenment. Trade routes, especially those connecting Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, became conduits for information. Manuscripts changed hands under the cover of night. Hints were passed along in coded letters, and entire caravans were rumored to carry fragments of the Codex. The pursuit became a complex dance of secrecy, with seekers often unaware of the true nature of what they were chasing. Many stumbled upon only partial clues, leaving the Codex tantalizingly close, yet perpetually out of reach. Danger was ever present. There are stories of rival factions ambushing explorers, burning archives, and intercepting messengers. In one account, a Venetian scholar returning from the Levant described how a rival order had raided his lodging, seizing manuscripts that might have contained Codex fragments. Such events illustrate the high stakes involved. The Codex was considered too potent to allow open access. Its secrets were a prize worth killing for, a treasure whose possession could confer not just knowledge, but influence over scholars, rulers, and perhaps even the course of history itself. Despite the obstacles, the first quests set the stage for a tradition of pursuit that would endure through centuries. They established methods of secrecy, routes of transmission, and the notion that fragments of the Codex could be scattered across distant lands, encoded in architecture, ritual, and manuscripts. Each attempt, whether successful or not, contributed to the legend, creating a map of discovery and danger that future seekers would follow. The Codex's allure grew not only from its content, but from the challenges inherent in its pursuit. The risk, the mystery, and the sense of touching something greater than ordinary human understanding. In this early phase, the Codex became more than an object. It became a symbol of humanity's eternal quest for knowledge. It represented the tension between revelation and concealment, between curiosity and caution. Those who sought it understood that the journey itself was a test of intellect, patience, and moral fortitude. Each first quest illuminated not just the Codex's possible location, but the qualities required to approach it responsibly. Knowledge of this magnitude demanded guardianship, courage, and respect for the power it contained. The first quests also reveal an important truth. The Codex's mystery was carefully maintained across generations. Every expedition, every failure, every fragment discovered and then hidden reinforced the Codex's reputation as an elusive, almost sentient repository of wisdom. Its very absence became part of its influence, teaching seekers that the pursuit of understanding often requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to confront both danger and uncertainty. By following the trail of these earliest quests, we begin to see not only the Codex itself, but also the human desire it inspired. A desire to uncover what had been deliberately hidden, to grasp truths that could illuminate the origins of civilization and the essence of humanity. Thus, the first quests were not merely searches for a manuscript. They were journeys into the unknown, bridging cultures, continents, and centuries. They established the Codex as a symbol of ultimate knowledge and demonstrated that its pursuit is inseparable from the human story itself. A story of curiosity, courage, and the relentless drive to uncover the truths of existence. These early endeavors set the stage for later quests, each building upon the discoveries and mistakes of those who dared to seek the lost Codex, and each deepening the mystery that continues to captivate seekers to this day. Throughout history, humanity has shown a remarkable paradox. While we crave knowledge, we often fear it. The Lost Codex represents this tension in its purest form. Its contents were said to contain truths about humanity's origins, forgotten civilizations, and the deeper structures of the cosmos. Such knowledge, by its very nature, was dangerous, not merely because it challenged conventional thinking, but because it threatened established power structures, religious doctrines, and social hierarchies. The story of the Codex, therefore, is inseparable from the forces that sought to suppress it. From the earliest references, it is evident that those who encountered fragments of the Codex or its equivalent often faced immediate pressure to conceal or destroy them. Ancient priests and scribes, for instance, understood that certain truths could destabilize societies unprepared for them. A single revelation about the origins of humanity or the cycles of civilization could undermine religious authority, provoke fear, or spark rebellion. To prevent this, knowledge was compartmentalized, encoded, and hidden, preserved not for the masses, but for the select few deemed capable of understanding and responsibly applying it. The suppression became more formalized with the rise of organized religious institutions. In medieval Europe, the Church wielded immense power, shaping both public thought and historical narratives. Any text considered heretical, dangerous, or subversive was subject to scrutiny, censorship, or destruction. Manuscripts that contained alternative histories, forbidden sciences, or esoteric wisdom were often confiscated and hidden, and their custodians faced severe consequences. The Codex, with its profound implications about human origins and knowledge beyond the accepted canon, would have been a natural target for such efforts to control information. This suppression was not limited to Europe. In the Islamic world, while scholars pursued vast knowledge during the Golden Age, texts deemed too radical or destabilizing were sometimes restricted to private study, preserved only in select libraries and monasteries. Similarly, in Asia, imperial authorities occasionally restricted access to certain manuscripts, particularly those believed to contain metaphysical or cosmological insights that could challenge the social order. Across civilizations, the pattern is consistent. Knowledge that could transform perception was treated as dangerous and, when necessary, actively concealed. The methods of suppression were varied and often ingenious. Entire libraries were destroyed by fire, floods, or political decree. Manuscripts were deliberately fragmented or rewritten, with key sections hidden in coded marginalia. Knowledge was also preserved through oral traditions, allowing it to survive, while keeping it inaccessible to those outside the initiated circle. Even when fragments survived, their context was often lost, reducing profound insights to cryptic symbols and half-understood stories. This careful, deliberate concealment ensured that the Codex remained elusive, accessible only to those willing to devote immense effort and insight to uncover it. Perhaps the most compelling evidence of suppression comes from accounts of sudden disappearances. Scholars, explorers, and monks who had access to fragments of the Codex were sometimes reported missing under mysterious circumstances. Libraries housing important manuscripts were burned or looted at moments of political or religious upheaval. Such events suggest more than coincidence. They imply a deliberate, coordinated effort to control access to knowledge too powerful to be widely disseminated. These measures underscore the Codex's perceived threat. It was not merely a historical curiosity, but a document capable of altering the course of thought, power, and civilization. The suppression of the Codex also highlights a deeper truth about human civilization. Knowledge, particularly that which challenges foundational beliefs, is often treated as a threat rather than a gift. Those in power have historically controlled narratives, deciding which truths are acceptable and which must remain hidden. The Codex's disappearance is emblematic of this dynamic, representing not just lost information, but the tension between human curiosity and societal control. Its legend persists precisely because it was systematically obscured, a symbol of knowledge that is simultaneously coveted, feared, and inaccessible. Ironically, this very suppression may have ensured the Codex's survival. By keeping it hidden from widespread scrutiny, it avoided the fate of ordinary texts, which were often lost to decay, conquest, or neglect. Encoded fragments, secret orders, and oral traditions acted as layers of protection, preserving the Codex's essence across centuries. While deliberate concealment created mystery, it also created resilience. The Codex became more than a manuscript. It became a living legend, a repository of knowledge safeguarded through ingenuity, loyalty, and secrecy. This tension between revelation and suppression also explains why the Codex continues to fascinate modern seekers. Its very inaccessibility makes it irresistible. The idea of a single text containing transformative knowledge, deliberately hidden by those who feared its power, taps into a universal human desire to uncover the truths others wish to keep secret. The Codex, therefore, is not only a historical enigma, but a mirror reflecting humanity's perpetual struggle with knowledge, power, and understanding. The story of the Codex's suppression also illuminates the complex moral landscape surrounding forbidden knowledge. Is it right to conceal truth in order to protect society? Or is the pursuit of understanding, no matter the consequences, an inherent human duty? Those who served as guardians and suppressors of the Codex faced these dilemmas daily, balancing the potential benefits of revelation against the risks of destabilization. Their decisions shaped the Codex's legacy, ensuring that what remained was not merely hidden, but carefully curated, encoded, and transmitted with intent. As we examine the Codex's history of suppression, a pattern emerges. Every effort to hide or destroy it left traces. Fragmented manuscripts, coded symbols, cryptic references in other texts, and architectural alignments all serve as breadcrumbs, guiding modern seekers toward the truth. The Codex may have been forbidden, yet its influence is undeniable, preserved not only in written fragments, but in myths, architecture, and the persistent curiosity of those who dared to follow its trail. Ultimately, the suppression of the Codex is inseparable from its mystery. Its survival, despite centuries of deliberate concealment, underscores the profound significance attributed to its knowledge. Each attempt to erase it, each act of hiding, reinforces the idea that the Codex contains truths beyond ordinary comprehension, truths powerful enough to provoke fear, reverence, and obsession. By understanding the forces that sought to suppress it, we gain insight not only into the Codex itself, but into the human history of knowledge, secrecy, and the enduring allure of forbidden wisdom. The Lost Codex, it seems, was not only a repository of ancient knowledge, but also a text intertwined with prophecy. Across centuries, scattered references suggest that it contained insights into humanity's destiny, the cycles of civilization, and even the fates of kings and empires. Some of these predictions were precise, while others were allegorical, encoded in metaphors and symbols that only the initiated could decipher. The Codex's prophetic dimension elevated it from a historical manuscript to a mystical guide, a document whose implications extended far beyond mere record-keeping. Prophetic references appear in diverse sources. In medieval Europe, certain manuscripts speak of a book of hidden futures, describing the rise and fall of nations, natural catastrophes, and periods of enlightenment or darkness. Monastic scribes often recorded these passages in secrecy, sometimes under layers of marginalia or coded annotations, indicating an awareness that such knowledge was dangerous if revealed prematurely. The prophecies were rarely literal. Instead, they were intertwined with symbolism, numerology, and allegorical imagery, reflecting a worldview in which events on Earth were mirrored by cosmic cycles. Far to the east, similar prophetic traditions emerge. In Tibet, manuscripts hidden in remote monasteries contain references to sacred texts predicting shifts in human consciousness and the arrival of enlightened teachers. In China, imperial scholars documented celestial alignments and patterns believed to foretell dynastic changes, drawing upon knowledge that may have originated from the same sources that inspired the Codex. Even across oceans, in Mesoamerica, codices from the Maya civilization encode time cycles and cosmological predictions, suggesting that ancient peoples shared an understanding of temporal patterns and foresight, possibly informed by knowledge preserved in the Codex. The prophetic elements of the Codex are often subtle, hidden in symbolic language that blends cosmology, mathematics, and philosophy. A diagram of stars may simultaneously represent the positions of celestial bodies, the unfolding of historical events, and moral or spiritual lessons. Numbers and sequences might encode dates of significance, cycles of renewal, or periods of upheaval. To modern eyes, these predictions appear cryptic or coincidental. Yet for those trained to read the language of the Codex, they constitute a coherent, multidimensional map of time and consequence. What makes the prophecies particularly compelling is their alleged accuracy. In several historical references, scholars and seers claim that fragments of the Codex had correctly foretold the fall of empires, plagues, and periods of enlightenment. These references, though often anecdotal, suggest that the Codex was regarded not merely as a record of the past, but as a guide to understanding the future. Its guardians recognized the potential dangers of such predictive power, reinforcing the need for secrecy and careful stewardship. Knowledge of what was to come could destabilize societies or empower individuals in ways that threatened established authority. The intertwining of prophecy with practical knowledge is another hallmark of the Codex. It was not solely a mystical text. It combined predictive insights with instructions for navigating and understanding the natural and human worlds. Celestial observations, architectural principles, and symbolic diagrams were often embedded with prophetic meaning, linking cause and effect, past and future. In this way, the Codex functioned as both a guide and a warning, providing information that could empower or disrupt, depending on the wisdom and readiness of the reader. Interestingly, the Codex's prophecies often emphasize cycles rather than singular events. This cyclical perspective aligns with the worldview of many ancient civilizations, which understood history as a series of repeating patterns, mirrored in astronomy, agriculture, and human behavior. The Codex, therefore, may have served as a tool for recognizing and interpreting these patterns, offering guidance on how to respond to recurring challenges, opportunities, and shifts in consciousness. Its predictive power was less about fortune-telling and more about understanding the rhythm of existence itself. The prophetic dimension also intersects with the Codex's warnings. Many references caution that misinterpretation or premature revelation could lead to disaster. The text, in essence, demands responsibility. It promises insight, but only to those capable of comprehension and restraint. This combination of foresight and ethical guidance may explain why so many civilizations chose to protect it so zealously. The Codex was not just a manuscript. It was a tool for navigating the delicate balance between knowledge, power, and consequence. Throughout history, seekers have been drawn to the Codex not only for its knowledge of the past, but for its glimpses of the future. Explorers, scholars, and mystics alike hoped to uncover its prophecies, believing that understanding them could guide decisions, avert catastrophe, or even unlock hidden potential in humanity. Yet each quest underscored the Codex's dual nature. It was both a beacon and a burden, offering extraordinary insight while demanding careful handling. The pursuit of its prophecies became a test of discernment, patience, and moral courage. In essence, the Codex's prophetic power is inseparable from its mystery. Its predictions were deliberately encoded, its wisdom layered and multidimensional, challenging readers to approach it with reverence and insight. Those who studied it were confronted not merely with facts or history, but with an intricate tapestry linking past, present, and future. The Codex thus embodies humanity's deepest yearning, to understand where we come from, who we are, and where we are headed. The prophecies also serve as a reminder of the Codex's enduring influence. Even fragments, whispers, and cryptic references have shaped civilizations' perceptions of time, fate, and destiny. By tracing these prophetic clues, we begin to appreciate the Codex's broader purpose. It was designed not only to preserve knowledge, but to guide, challenge, and awaken those who dare to seek it. Its mysteries invite us to contemplate the hidden patterns of existence, the cycles of human history, and the profound interplay between knowledge and responsibility. In following these prophetic threads, we glimpse the Codex's ultimate significance, a document that bridges the tangible and the intangible, the past and the future, the known and the unknown. Its predictions, encoded in symbols, numbers, and allegories, remind us that the pursuit of understanding is never simple. The Codex challenges humanity to seek insight responsibly, to respect the power of knowledge, and to recognize that the future, like the past, is a complex web waiting to be deciphered by those with patience, wisdom, and courage. As centuries passed, the Lost Codex did not vanish entirely from human consciousness. Its fragments, whispers, and mysterious references continue to circulate, reaching the attention of scholars, adventurers, and collectors during the modern era. By the 19th and 20th centuries, the Codex had become both a legend and a pursuit, an artifact that seemed to exist at the intersection of history, mysticism, and conspiracy. Modern seekers approached it with new tools, methodologies, and perspectives, but the Codex remained as elusive and enigmatic as ever, its secrets tightly bound to centuries of encoded knowledge and deliberate concealment. The rise of historical scholarship and archaeology brought renewed interest in ancient manuscripts, prompting systematic searches in libraries, monasteries, and private collections. European researchers scoured forgotten archives, discovering fragments of texts whose symbols, patterns, or marginalia hinted at a connection to the Codex. These discoveries were tantalizing, but incomplete, leaving gaps that only fueled speculation. Some fragments seemed almost impossibly advanced for their time, containing astronomical charts, geometrical calculations, or symbolic codes whose full meaning defied conventional interpretation. The Codex, it appeared, had left subtle fingerprints across centuries of human knowledge. Private collectors also played a significant role in the Codex's modern history. Wealthy individuals with a passion for esoteric manuscripts often acquired mysterious texts, sometimes without fully understanding their significance. Auctions and private sales brought these fragments to new locations, occasionally sparking intrigue and rivalry. In some cases, collectors attempted to decipher the Codex's symbols, while in others, they preserved them as curiosities or treasures. These actions inadvertently continued the Codex's centuries-long tradition of selective transmission, ensuring that only those deeply invested in its study would attempt to unlock its secrets. During the 20th century, interest in the Codex expanded beyond academic and private circles. Esoteric societies, mystics, and even intelligence agencies reportedly investigated its existence, drawn by the Codex's reputed power and transformative potential. Rumors circulated that fragments had been smuggled across borders, hidden in secret vaults, or stored in secure archives accessible only to a privileged few. The Codex's mystique was amplified by these accounts, creating an aura of conspiracy and intrigue that blurred the line between historical fact and legend. Modern seekers were now compelled to navigate not only the Codex's ancient complexities, but also the modern world of secrecy, espionage, and power. Technological advancements introduced new possibilities for studying the Codex. High-resolution imaging, multispectral analysis, and computer modeling allowed researchers to examine faint symbols, hidden annotations, and structural patterns previously invisible to the naked eye. These tools offered fresh insights into its ciphers, diagrams, and coded passages, revealing layers of meaning that might otherwise have remained hidden. Even so, technology alone could not fully decode the Codex. Its language of symbols, allegories, and metaphysical references demanded intuition, contextual knowledge, and interdisciplinary understanding. Modern methods enhanced the pursuit, but the challenge remained as formidable as ever. The Codex also captured the imagination of popular culture. Authors, filmmakers, and artists were drawn to its mystery, weaving stories that blended historical research with speculation. These narratives, while often sensationalized, helped sustain public fascination with the Codex and inspired new generations of seekers. The mythos surrounding it, fragments discovered in hidden vaults, encoded prophecies, secret societies guarding its truths, created a cultural resonance that transcended academia, transforming the Codex into a symbol of hidden wisdom, ultimate discovery, and forbidden knowledge. Despite centuries of pursuit, the Codex remained tantalizingly out of reach. Scholars debated its authenticity, skeptics dismissed it as legend, and the surviving fragments offered tantalizing glimpses without providing the full picture. Yet these partial insights confirmed one central truth. The Codex contained a form of knowledge unlike any other. It was at once historical, mystical, scientific, and philosophical, a compendium designed to challenge conventional understanding and reward those capable of perceiving its intricate patterns. The Codex's modern presence, therefore, is both elusive and profound, bridging the gap between myth and scholarship, history and speculation. Modern explorers also recognize the Codex's global footprint. Clues scattered across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and the Americas suggested a continuity of knowledge that defied conventional historical narratives. Urban planning, architectural alignments, and ritual symbolism all hinted at principles preserved from a codex, encoded in ways that survived millennia. Modern researchers could trace patterns invisible to the untrained eye, uncovering the Codex's subtle influence on human history. These discoveries reinforce the notion that the Codex was not merely a text, but a living system of knowledge, designed to endure and to guide those capable of understanding its depth. The Codex in modern times also highlights the delicate balance between revelation and risk. Scholars, collectors, and mystics alike confronted a dilemma: how to study and interpret its fragments without falling victim to misinterpretation or misuse. Historical accounts of suppression, disappearances, and deliberate concealment offered stark warnings. Knowledge of extraordinary depth and power, if revealed prematurely or without proper context, could destabilize societies or endanger individuals. This dynamic continues to shape modern interactions with the Codex, underscoring its enduring status as a text that demands both caution and insight. The modern pursuit of the Codex is, therefore, as much a psychological and philosophical journey as it is an academic one. Researchers must navigate the complex interplay of history, symbol, and secrecy while confronting their own assumptions about human origins, knowledge, and destiny. Each fragment, discovery, or revelation carries the weight of centuries of guardianship, suppression, and speculation. The Codex challenges those who study it to recognize the limits of conventional understanding and to embrace interdisciplinary methods, intuition, and respect for the power it embodies. Ultimately, the Codex's presence in modern times demonstrates that its influence is not merely historical, but ongoing. It continues to inspire curiosity, scholarship, and speculation, bridging ancient civilizations and contemporary seekers. Its legacy is found in the fragments preserved, the symbols studied, and the mysteries that remain unsolved. The Codex reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge is rarely straightforward, that history often conceals as much as it reveals, and that the most profound truths may remain hidden until the world is ready to perceive them. In tracing the Codex from the medieval quest to modern investigations, we see a continuum of human fascination, ingenuity, and determination. It is a pursuit that transcends eras, blending scholarship, mysticism, and adventure. The Codex in modern times is both a testament to the enduring allure of hidden knowledge and a challenge to those willing to engage with its secrets. Its story is far from complete, and the search continues, a journey through history, mystery, and human curiosity that invites us to peer into the depths of the unknown. Throughout history, whispers of secret societies guarding extraordinary knowledge are inseparable from the legend of the Lost Codex. These groups, often cloaked in mystery and operating beyond the scrutiny of mainstream institutions, have been rumored to protect, interpret, and sometimes even exploit fragments of the Codex for their own purposes. The interplay between secrecy, power, and the Codex's enigmatic content has given rise to countless theories, some rooted in historical evidence, others steeped in speculation, but all highlighting the manuscript's profound significance. The Knights Templar are perhaps the most frequently cited custodians. Emerging during the Crusades, they combined military prowess with access to Eastern knowledge, acquiring manuscripts, artifacts, and sacred texts that were otherwise unknown in Europe. Some historians propose that the Templars encountered fragments of the Codex during their campaigns in the Holy Land, safeguarding it in their fortified libraries or secret vaults. Allegedly, the Codex's cryptic symbols, astrological diagrams, and encoded wisdom were particularly appealing to the Templars, whose esoteric practices emphasized hidden knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. Their systematic approach to secrecy, combined with a network of properties across Europe, made them ideal guardians of a manuscript of immense power. Other secret societies throughout history may have shared a similar role. The Freemasons, for example, are often associated with the preservation of ancient knowledge, encoded in rituals, symbols, and architectural motifs. Some researchers suggest that these societies inherited fragments or teachings related to the Codex, integrating them into allegorical frameworks meant to educate initiates while remaining inaccessible to outsiders. In this sense, secret societies acted as custodians and interpreters, bridging the gap between raw knowledge and practical understanding. Their influence ensured the Codex's survival while embedding its principles into human culture in subtle and lasting ways. In the East, monastic orders and scholarly circles sometimes functioned similarly. Tibetan monasteries, for instance, maintained texts that recorded cosmic cycles, prophecies, and advanced philosophical systems. Access was restricted, and instruction in the text's deeper meanings required years of study under experienced mentors. In China, certain esoteric traditions linked astrology, geomancy, and statecraft to the protection of sacred manuscripts, ensuring that the knowledge could guide rulers and scholars without being widely disseminated. Across cultures, these groups operated on a principle of selective revelation. Knowledge was preserved, but only shared with those deemed capable of understanding and applying it responsibly. The Codex's connection to secret societies highlights the tension between power and wisdom. Knowledge can empower, enlighten, or destabilize depending on who wields it and how. By controlling access to the Codex, these societies effectively mediated its influence, safeguarding its contents while navigating the ethical dilemmas inherent in its power. The stakes were high. A single misinterpretation could provoke political upheaval, religious conflict, or societal disruption. In this context, secrecy was not merely protective. It was an ethical imperative, a means of preserving humanity from truths it might not yet be ready to comprehend. The methods of these societies were often elaborate. Ritual, symbolism, and initiation created layers of understanding that only the initiated could access. Manuscripts were hidden in vaults, encoded with ciphers, or divided into sections, each revealing knowledge incrementally. Architectural design, ceremonial objects, and oral traditions reinforced the teachings of the Codex, allowing societies to maintain continuity even when individual members were lost or texts were destroyed. The Codex thus functioned as a nucleus around which networks of esoteric knowledge could flourish, protected by both practical and symbolic measures. The Templars, in particular, became legendary for their association with hidden wisdom. Accounts suggest that during their sudden suppression in the early 14th century, manuscripts, relics, and secret knowledge were dispersed, hidden, or seized by sympathetic allies. Some fragments may have made their way to remote monasteries, private collections, or underground societies, preserving the Codex's essence even as its custodians were persecuted. This dispersion ensured that the Codex survived in fragments across regions, creating a global web of clues for later seekers. Its survival was paradoxically strengthened by the very attempts to eliminate its custodians. Modern interest in these societies has only intensified the Codex's mystique. Conspiracy theories, documentaries, and scholarly research explore the possibility that the Codex influenced architecture, rituals, and philosophical systems embedded within secret organizations. Initiates reportedly trained to interpret symbols, understand cosmology, and navigate the ethical implications of forbidden knowledge.
These practices suggest that the Codex was not a static manuscript, but a dynamic tool, shaping minds and guiding actions in accordance with principles encoded in its pages. Its influence extended beyond the physical text to the very structure of knowledge, thought, and culture. The Codex also highlights the delicate moral balancing act faced by secret societies. By controlling access, they protected the powerful knowledge it contained, but they also imposed limitations on who could benefit from it. Questions of ethics, responsibility, and the consequences of revelation were central to their stewardship. This moral dimension underscores a critical aspect of the Codex. It is not merely a repository of facts, but a guide demanding discernment, patience, and respect. The manuscript guardians had to weigh the potential for enlightenment against the risk of misuse, a tension that continues to define the Codex's legend today. In exploring secret societies, one notices a recurring theme: preservation through selective dissemination. Rather than hoarding knowledge for selfish gain, many societies appear to have sought to transmit it carefully, ensuring its continuity while minimizing harm. This approach may explain why the Codex remains elusive even in modern times. Its fragments, encoded symbols, and elusive references are not random. They are deliberate, forming a protective lattice that challenges seekers while rewarding those capable of deep understanding and ethical insight. The Codex, in essence, is a test of readiness as much as a source of knowledge. Secret societies function as both custodians and guides, mediating the relationship between humanity and profound truths contained within its pages. Their influence preserved the Codex across centuries of upheaval, political change, and cultural transformation. Without these societies, much of what survives today might have been lost entirely, leaving only rumor and legend. Instead, the Codex persists as a living mystery, an artifact intertwined with the history of human curiosity, secrecy, and the pursuit of hidden knowledge. Ultimately, the Codex's relationship with secret societies illuminates its enduring significance. It was never merely a manuscript to be found or read. It was a transformative force, demanding careful handling, ethical consideration, and deep insight. These societies ensured that it survived the ravages of time, suppression, and human error, embedding it within a broader tapestry of wisdom that continues to captivate scholars, seekers, and dreamers alike. The Codex and the organizations devoted to its preservation stand as a testament to humanity's eternal quest for knowledge, power, and understanding, and to the delicate balance between revelation and responsibility that defines the pursuit of truth.
One of the most compelling aspects of the Lost Codex lies in its hidden symbols. Unlike ordinary manuscripts, which convey knowledge through straightforward text, the Codex employs a multi-layered symbolic language, encoded to challenge, protect, and guide the reader. These symbols are not mere decoration or cryptic art. They are keys, gateways to understanding the profound truths concealed within the Codex. Deciphering them requires not only analytical skill, but also intuition, historical awareness, and a willingness to perceive beyond the visible. From the earliest accounts, the Codex's symbols were described as intricate, often blending geometry, astronomy, and allegory. Circles, spirals, intersecting lines, and abstract motifs dominate the pages, appearing at first glance as ornamental. Yet careful study reveals patterns, relationships, and correspondences that suggest a systematic encoding of knowledge. Some symbols correlate with celestial cycles, mathematical constants, or natural phenomena, hinting at an understanding of the universe that surpasses conventional science. Others appear as representations of moral or spiritual principles, merging the practical with the metaphysical. Geometric patterns are particularly prominent. Triangles, squares, and pentagons recur alongside concentric circles and intersecting lines, forming networks of meaning that suggest a fusion of mathematics, cosmology, and philosophy. Certain arrangements mirror the architecture of ancient temples, the alignments of megalithic structures, or the layout of sacred cities, implying that the Codex was not only a text, but also a blueprint for harmonizing human activity with cosmic order. These geometric symbols operate on multiple levels, encoding both practical knowledge and metaphysical insight. Astronomical symbolism is another critical feature. Stars, planets, constellations, and celestial cycles appear frequently, often intertwined with numerological and geometric motifs. Scholars speculate that these diagrams serve as guides to understanding time, cosmic patterns, and historical cycles. Some symbols align with solstices, equinoxes, or lunar phases, indicating that the Codex integrates observational astronomy with symbolic wisdom. By decoding these celestial signs, seekers could potentially unlock insights into human history, future events, and the fundamental principles governing the universe. Animal symbolism also permeates the Codex. Birds, serpents, lions, and mythical creatures recur across pages, often embedded within geometric or celestial diagrams. Each animal carries layered meanings: spiritual, philosophical, and practical. For instance, serpents may represent cycles of renewal, hidden knowledge, or the duality of creation and destruction, while birds might symbolize transcendence, observation, and the movement between earthly and celestial realms. These symbols create a rich tapestry of metaphor, demanding careful interpretation and contextual understanding. Color, though subtle in surviving fragments, appears to have played a deliberate role. Variations in hue, shading, and contrast suggest layers of meaning intended to guide the reader's perception, highlighting connections or emphasizing important concepts. In some cases, color-coded symbols may correspond to elements, energies, or cosmological principles, reinforcing the Codex's multidimensional nature. Even the physical arrangement of symbols on the page, spacing, orientation, and sequencing, appears intentional, suggesting that the Codex is as much a visual and spatial experience as a textual one. The Codex's symbolic language is deliberately multilayered, allowing for interpretation at different levels. A single symbol may convey practical instruction, philosophical principle, and spiritual insight simultaneously. This multiplicity of meaning makes the Codex both powerful and elusive. A casual observer may perceive only the surface, while a trained or intuitive seeker may uncover deeper layers. The symbols thus act as both a safeguard and a guide, protecting knowledge from misuse while directing the attentive reader toward enlightenment. Ciphers and coded sequences further complicate the Codex. Marginal notes, interlocking patterns, and repeating motifs suggest an internal logic or key that has yet to be fully deciphered. Scholars who attempt to analyze these codes often find themselves at a crossroads. Literal interpretation yields partial insight, while symbolic or intuitive approaches reveal more profound understanding. The Codex's symbols challenge conventional modes of thinking, encouraging seekers to integrate analytical, creative, and spiritual faculties in the pursuit of knowledge. Historical references indicate that these symbols were not purely decorative or cryptic for entertainment. They were instructional. The Codex may have served as a manual, guiding initiates through complex systems of cosmology, philosophy, and practical wisdom. Temples, monuments, and ceremonial practices often incorporate similar symbols, suggesting that the Codex provided a blueprint for aligning human activity with larger cosmic principles. In this sense, its symbols are functional, guiding both thought and action, merging knowledge and practice in a seamless, encoded framework. The Codex's symbolic richness also highlights its ethical dimension. Many symbols appear to encode principles of balance, responsibility, and restraint. Knowledge, the Codex implies, is powerful only when wielded wisely. Misinterpretation or misuse of its symbols could have profound consequences, not merely for the individual seeker, but for societies or even civilizations. This embedded moral guidance reinforces the Codex's role as more than a repository of information. It is a guide for understanding the proper use of knowledge, linking insight with ethical responsibility. The legacy of the Codex's symbols persists in subtle ways. Across cultures, echoes of its symbolic language appear in art, architecture, and ritual, suggesting a continuity of knowledge that transcends geography and era. Scholars trace geometric motifs, celestial alignments, and animal symbols from Europe to Asia to the Americas, recognizing a network of understanding that may originate from the Codex or its predecessors. These symbolic fingerprints provide modern seekers with clues, reinforcing the notion that the Codex's influence is both pervasive and enduring, even in the absence of the full manuscript. In decoding these symbols, modern researchers face both opportunity and challenge. The Codex demands patience, interdisciplinary insight, and a willingness to think beyond conventional frameworks. Its symbols resist reduction to simple interpretations. They require synthesis of mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and intuition. Yet for those who approach the Codex with care, the rewards are immense. The symbols offer a map to understanding human history, cosmic principles, and the potential for future enlightenment. Each discovery illuminates not only the Codex itself, but also the timeless human drive to uncover hidden truths and connect with the mysteries of existence. Ultimately, the Codex's hidden symbols are the heart of its mystery. They embody its power, its wisdom, and its challenge. To study them is to enter into a dialogue with the past, with civilizations long vanished, and with the universal principles they sought to encode. The symbols demand attention, respect, and insight, transforming the act of reading into an immersive experience, a journey through layers of meaning that connect humanity with the cosmos. In this symbolic language lies the essence of the Codex, a key to knowledge, a guardian of wisdom, and a challenge that has captivated seekers for centuries. The Lost Codex, it seems, was never intended to be understood solely through text or symbols. Its meaning was deeply intertwined with geography. Across centuries, references suggest that the Codex contained encoded knowledge of lost locations, sacred sites, and ancient cities long vanished from collective memory. These maps and coordinates were not merely practical tools for navigation. They were keys to hidden wisdom, linking physical spaces with spiritual, philosophical, and cosmic principles. Understanding the Codex, therefore, required a dual mastery of both intellect and intuition, a journey that spanned from libraries and archives to mountains, deserts, and ruins. Medieval explorers and early modern cartographers often noted peculiar references to places forgotten by time or hidden from common sight. These annotations, sometimes marginalia in manuscripts or encoded within diagrams, pointed to locations of immense significance. Scholars who studied these references realized that they might correspond to sites of ritual importance, repositories of lost knowledge, or centers of ancient civilizations. While some locations corresponded to known cities and temples, others seemed to exist in liminal spaces, deserts, hidden valleys, or remote mountain ranges, places deliberately obscured from ordinary travelers to preserve their sanctity and the knowledge contained within. Many of these lost locations carry a consistent theme: alignment. Ancient structures, according to historical references, often corresponded with astronomical events, geomagnetic phenomena, or sacred geometry encoded in the Codex. Temples, pyramids, and megalithic sites were not isolated constructions. They formed networks, each serving as a node in a larger map of knowledge. The Codex, it appears, contained instructions or hints for identifying and interpreting these sites. By following the encoded coordinates, one could potentially reconstruct the network, revealing patterns that spoke to both practical understanding of the natural world and deeper metaphysical insight. Some scholars suggest that the Codex's maps were multidimensional, requiring simultaneous understanding of geography, astronomy, and symbolic language. A mountain might be marked not only for its location, but for its relation to constellations, seasonal changes, or energy alignments. Rivers, deserts, and valleys might represent physical, spiritual, or philosophical pathways. The Codex's maps, therefore, are not mere cartography. They are a sophisticated integration of spatial, temporal, and symbolic knowledge, designed to guide the seeker along a journey that is simultaneously physical and metaphysical. Historical accounts provide tantalizing glimpses of these lost locations. Pilgrims, explorers, and adventurers describe journeys to valleys hidden behind impassable terrain, temples concealed within jungles, and underground chambers beneath ruined cities. Many of these sites were marked by inscriptions, architectural cues, or symbolic markers corresponding to the Codex's diagrams. These accounts suggest that knowledge of such locations was transmitted selectively, often orally or through encoded manuscripts, ensuring that only those initiated into the deeper understanding of the Codex could navigate its hidden geography. Cartography in the early modern period provides further evidence of the Codex's influence. Maps from the 15th to 17th centuries occasionally include enigmatic symbols, lines, or annotations that resist conventional interpretation. Some researchers argue that these marks correspond to the Codex's encoded directions, pointing toward lost cities, hidden temples, or sites of extraordinary significance. The interplay between cartography and symbolism in these maps suggests that ancient and early modern explorers were not merely charting terrain, but decoding a layered system of knowledge linking the physical and metaphysical worlds. The Codex's geographic dimension also intersects with mythology and legend. Many lost locations referenced within its pages appear in folklore, epic poems, and religious texts. Cities of gold, subterranean vaults, or sacred mountains are described across civilizations, from South America to the Middle East. While these tales are often dismissed as myth, cross-referencing them with Codex fragments and ancient maps reveals striking parallels. The Codex may have served as a bridge between legend and reality, encoding precise knowledge in a symbolic language that required discernment, observation, and intuition to interpret. The danger of pursuing these locations is another recurring theme. Historical accounts detail explorers lost in deserts, mountains, and jungles, or facing rival factions intent on protecting secrets. Some sites were intentionally obscured, guarded by natural hazards or human intervention, ensuring that only the most dedicated, resourceful, and worthy seekers could reach them. This aspect of the Codex reinforces its dual nature. It is both a guide and a test, offering access to profound wisdom only to those capable of navigating both physical and intellectual challenges. Modern technology has reignited interest in these lost locations. Satellite imagery, GIS mapping, and geospatial analysis allow researchers to trace ancient alignments, evaluate terrain features, and cross-reference historical references with modern geography. In some cases, subtle anomalies in landscape patterns hint at buried structures or hidden sites, potentially corresponding to the Codex's encoded maps. These tools, combined with historical scholarship, offer unprecedented opportunities to explore the Codex's geographic dimension, revealing connections that were previously hidden or obscured. Yet, the Codex's lost locations are more than archaeological curiosities. They are keys to understanding the broader philosophy encoded within its pages. Each site is a node in a network of knowledge, where spatial awareness, symbolic understanding, and cosmic alignment converge. By following the Codex's guidance, seekers may uncover insights into human civilization, the structure of the cosmos, and the ethical principles necessary to wield profound knowledge responsibly. The act of exploration, therefore, is inseparable from the pursuit of understanding, emphasizing that the Codex is as much about the journey as it is about the destinations themselves. In tracing these lost locations, one also observes a continuity of human aspiration. Civilizations across continents, from the Maya to Mesopotamia to the Egyptians, encoded spatial, astronomical, and symbolic knowledge into their structures. The Codex appears to synthesize and preserve these traditions, providing instructions not merely for survival or construction, but for aligning human life with cosmic principles. Each lost site becomes a focal point, a physical manifestation of the Codex's deeper wisdom, waiting to be rediscovered and understood by those attuned to its multi-layered guidance. Ultimately, the Codex's lost locations and ancient maps exemplify its dual purpose. They are both practical guides and metaphysical tools. They challenge seekers to interpret encoded symbols, understand cosmic alignments, and navigate hidden terrain, merging the intellectual, spiritual, and physical dimensions of exploration. In doing so, they reinforce the Codex's enduring appeal. It is not merely a manuscript or collection of fragments, but a living system of knowledge, connecting human understanding with the hidden structures of the world. Through these lost locations, the Codex continues to guide, challenge, and inspire, offering glimpses of a reality shaped by profound wisdom, carefully preserved across the ages. The Lost Codex, as tantalizing as it is mysterious, appears to contain more than symbolic wisdom or philosophical insight. It hints at technologies far beyond what conventional history attributes to ancient civilizations. Across its surviving fragments and encoded references, scholars and researchers have discovered patterns suggesting knowledge of mechanics, engineering, astronomy, and materials science that seem strikingly advanced for the periods in which the Codex was allegedly created. The text does not present these technologies as mere inventions. It integrates them into a broader system of knowledge that merges practical application with cosmic understanding. Descriptions within the Codex hint at mechanisms resembling water pumps, levers, pulleys, and even early analog computation. Geometric diagrams correspond to gear systems, rotational motion, and energy transfer, while annotated notes suggest principles of efficiency, load distribution, and structural integrity. Some scholars have drawn parallels between these illustrations and artifacts unearthed at ancient sites, where construction methods and machinery appear remarkably sophisticated. These correlations suggest that the Codex may have served as a compendium of applied knowledge, a manual for engineering and scientific innovation preserved across centuries through symbolic encoding. Astronomy and celestial mechanics also feature prominently. The Codex includes diagrams that correlate planetary positions, lunar phases, and solar cycles with geometric patterns and encoded instructions. Some researchers speculate that these diagrams functioned as primitive yet precise astronomical calculators, enabling predictions of celestial events and the creation of calendars aligned with natural rhythms. In an era when observation was limited to the naked eye, such foresight would have represented a profound understanding of the cosmos and its cycles, allowing civilizations to plan agricultural, religious, and social activities with unparalleled accuracy. The Codex's technological content extends to materials and construction methods. Certain symbols and annotations suggest knowledge of metallurgy, stoneworking, and durable composite materials. These insights may explain the long-lasting structures and artifacts produced by ancient civilizations, which have withstood centuries of erosion, earthquakes, and environmental change. For example, geometric instructions encoded in the Codex may have guided the precise alignment of megalithic stones, pyramids, or temples, ensuring structural stability while embedding symbolic meaning into their very design. The interplay of technology and symbolism demonstrates that the Codex does not separate the practical from the metaphysical. Rather, it fuses them, revealing a holistic understanding of the world. One of the most fascinating aspects of these ancient technologies is their apparent ethical dimension. The Codex repeatedly emphasizes balance, harmony, and responsible application. Diagrams and instructions are often coupled with symbolic warnings, indicating that the knowledge they convey carries power and responsibility. This ethical framing suggests that the Codex was not merely a technical manual, but a guide to applying knowledge wisely, with awareness of its potential consequences. In this way, the technologies encoded within its pages are inseparable from the moral and philosophical context that governs their use. Some modern interpretations suggest that the Codex even contains principles resembling renewable energy or advanced mechanics. Water wheels, solar tracking diagrams, and airflow calculations hint at an understanding of energy harnessing that surpasses what is typically attributed to ancient societies. If these interpretations are accurate, the Codex represents a repository of knowledge capable of influencing not only historical technology, but potentially guiding contemporary innovation. This possibility adds another layer to its mystique, a document simultaneously ancient and timeless, containing insights that remain relevant today. Engineering applications described in the Codex are not limited to machinery or celestial instruments. References to architectural design, urban planning, and structural alignment suggest a sophisticated understanding of environmental adaptation. Temples, citadels, and city layouts encoded in the text reflect knowledge of drainage, wind patterns, solar orientation, and acoustics. These features indicate that the Codex served as a blueprint for civilizations seeking to harmonize human activity with natural and cosmic forces, blending engineering precision with spiritual and symbolic significance. The Codex's technologies also appear to anticipate later developments in mathematics and geometry. Complex ratios, proportional systems, and mathematical constants are embedded within diagrams, hinting at calculations and principles not widely recognized until centuries later. These findings suggest that the Codex may have served as a bridge between empirical observation and theoretical knowledge, providing practical applications while subtly encoding abstract mathematical concepts. By integrating mathematics, mechanics, and metaphysics, the Codex demonstrates a level of intellectual sophistication rarely acknowledged in discussions of ancient civilizations. What makes these technological insights especially compelling is their preservation through symbolism and secrecy. The Codex's authors may have deliberately encoded advanced knowledge to protect it from misuse or misunderstanding. By embedding engineering principles within allegorical diagrams, geometric shapes, and symbolic language, they ensured that only those with the intellectual and ethical capacity to comprehend the material could access it. This method of concealment mirrors the broader theme of the Codex. Knowledge is powerful, and its guardianship requires both discretion and discernment. The intersection of technology and prophecy further deepens the Codex's mystery. Some diagrams suggest predictive mechanisms capable of aligning human activity with cosmic cycles. By understanding celestial patterns, energy flows, and structural harmonics, ancient engineers could theoretically design tools, buildings, and cities that resonate with both natural and metaphysical laws. These insights imply that technology was not merely utilitarian in ancient times, but also integrally connected to philosophical and spiritual frameworks. The Codex, therefore, functions as a guide to harmonizing human ingenuity with universal order. Modern scholars continue to debate the Codex's technological content, and experimental archaeology has attempted to reconstruct some of its mechanisms. While results are often partial or speculative, these experiments provide a glimpse into the practical applications of the knowledge encoded within the text. They reveal a civilization capable of integrating observation, experimentation, and symbolic encoding, producing innovations that were advanced, durable, and, in some cases, prescient. The Codex's technologies are not just theoretical. They invite active exploration and engagement, demanding that modern seekers approach its contents with both curiosity and caution. Ultimately, the Codex's technological dimension underscores its uniqueness. It is not merely a historical document or a mystical text. It is a multidimensional manual, integrating philosophy, ethics, mechanics, astronomy, and geometry. Its pages convey knowledge that challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations, revealing a sophistication that continues to intrigue and inspire. By preserving these insights through symbolic encoding, the Codex ensured their survival across centuries of suppression, dispersal, and misunderstanding, maintaining a bridge between past innovation and potential future discovery. The technologies within the Codex, therefore, serve as both practical tools and philosophical lessons. They remind humanity that knowledge carries responsibility, that innovation is inseparable from ethics, and that understanding the natural and cosmic order requires both analytical skill and moral discernment. As modern seekers study the Codex, its technological wisdom continues to challenge assumptions, spark imagination, and illuminate the enduring human quest to harmonize intellect, spirit, and the physical world. And structural harmonics. Ancient engineers could theoretically design tools, buildings, and cities that resonate with both natural and metaphysical laws. These insights imply that technology was not merely utilitarian in ancient times, but also integrally connected to philosophical and spiritual frameworks. The Codex, therefore, functions as a guide to harmonizing human ingenuity with universal order. Modern scholars continue to debate the Codex's technological content, and experimental archaeology has attempted to reconstruct some of its mechanisms. While results are often partial or speculative, these experiments provide a glimpse into the practical applications of the knowledge encoded within the text. They reveal a civilization capable of integrating observation, experimentation, and symbolic encoding, producing innovations that were advanced, durable, and, in some cases, prescient. The Codex's technologies are not just theoretical. They invite active exploration and engagement, demanding that modern seekers approach its contents with both curiosity and caution. Ultimately, the Codex's technological dimension underscores its uniqueness. It is not merely a historical document or a mystical text. It is a multidimensional manual, integrating philosophy, ethics, mechanics, astronomy, and geometry. Its pages convey knowledge that challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations, revealing a sophistication that continues to intrigue and inspire. By preserving these insights through symbolic encoding, the Codex ensured their survival across centuries of suppression, dispersal, and misunderstanding, maintaining a bridge between past innovation and potential future discovery. The technologies within the Codex, therefore, serve as both practical tools and philosophical lessons. They remind humanity that knowledge carries responsibility, that innovation is inseparable from ethics, and that understanding the natural and cosmic order requires both analytical skill and moral discernment. As modern seekers study the Codex, its technological wisdom continues to challenge assumptions, spark imagination, and illuminate the enduring human quest to harmonize intellect, spirit, and the physical world. And structural harmonics. Ancient engineers could theoretically design tools, buildings, and cities that resonate with both natural and metaphysical laws. These insights imply that technology was not merely utilitarian in ancient times, but also integrally connected to philosophical and spiritual frameworks. The Codex, therefore, functions as a guide to harmonizing human ingenuity with universal order. Modern scholars continue to debate the Codex's technological content, and experimental archaeology has attempted to reconstruct some of its mechanisms. While results are often partial or speculative, these experiments provide a glimpse into the practical applications of the knowledge encoded within the text. They reveal a civilization capable of integrating observation, experimentation, and symbolic encoding, producing innovations that were advanced, durable, and, in some cases, prescient. The Codex's technologies are not just theoretical. They invite active exploration and engagement, demanding that modern seekers approach its contents with both curiosity and caution. Ultimately, the Codex's technological dimension underscores its uniqueness. It is not merely a historical document or a mystical text. It is a multidimensional manual, integrating philosophy, ethics, mechanics, astronomy, and geometry. Its pages convey knowledge that challenges assumptions about the capabilities of ancient civilizations, revealing a sophistication that continues to intrigue and inspire. By preserving these insights through symbolic encoding, the Codex ensured their survival across centuries of suppression, dispersal, and misunderstanding, maintaining a bridge between past innovation and potential future discovery. The technologies within the Codex, therefore, serve as both practical tools and philosophical lessons. They remind humanity that knowledge carries responsibility, that innovation is inseparable from ethics, and that understanding the natural and cosmic order requires both analytical skill and moral discernment. As modern seekers study the Codex, its technological wisdom continues to challenge assumptions, spark imagination, and illuminate the enduring human quest to harmonize intellect, spirit, and the physical world.